Drogba indirdi ceza. Snyder. Snyder gol! Allah'ım gol!
Muslera! Fernando Muslera! Golün adı Muslera!
Sarıyoglu, Drogba! This is incredible!
Today's podcast is brought to you by Işıtan Gün and Vin Diesel. Merhaba and welcome to episode 2 of The Lion's Den, a Galatasaray podcast. From all around the world, I'm your host Samet, and today we'll be discussing the latest news. It will be Işıtan Gün having some controversial tweets, expectation of the current board, Luis Campos being in Istanbul, Albert Riera returning as an assistant manager, and we'll move on from there to a roundtable discussion on the game against Kasımpaşa. And we'll also add in what our thoughts are about the game against Trabzonspor, our match predictions, and so on. Just like last episode, we will have Brooklyn Emre, Canadian John, Australian Mazar, unfortunately without Dutchy Salih, but with our latest addition, Corporate Yasin. Welcome to the show, Yasin. Welcome to us. Can you tell a bit about yourself like we did last time before we deep dive in Gala topics? Maybe start with your name, age, where you're from, how you started supporting Galatasaray in general.
Sure, of course. Thanks for having me, boys. My name's Yasin. I'm from New York, just like Emre. I started following Galatasaray since I was a kid. Nothing too crazy, nothing too heavy. By far from anything like a fanatic. My dad was a Galatasaraylı. My family's a Galatasaraylı. But I was born into kind of like a baseball neighborhood where I live. I played baseball, until I was 10 years old. Soccer was, once a month kind of thing for me until I was 10 years old. And I got into soccer. My dad was like, hey, you know what? You're good at baseball, but why don't you think about soccer? And that's when I saw my family, my relatives, the whole Turkish side of me was really like, all right, you should get into soccer. So I started playing soccer. But it wasn't until 2011 that I really started following Galatasaray. And I remember the exact moment. It was the Galatasaray-Fenerbahçe game in Kadıköy. It was that whole Super Cup final playoff thing that was going on, the extra part of the season. And I followed that game, for the first time, very detailed, probably my whole life, following a game that closely. And we ended up, tying the game, some miracle. Fenerbahçe was attacking the whole game, but we somehow ended up tying the game. And I just remember that moment feeling so excited, so proud to be a Galatasaraylı. Even though before that I was, once every 2-3 years, a family member gets you a Galatasaray forma from Turkey, from the Pazar. It's anything but real, but you're still proud to wear it. That's what I was until that moment. But after that, it was like, all right, Baba, and I want the Galatasaray jersey every single year. It's, Anne, Baba, how am I watching this game this weekend? Do we have Digiturk? Or can you help me figure out how I'm going to watch these games? And then eventually I found a wonderful place called Reddit Galatasaray. That's where I was able to finally make friends and talk about Galatasaray on a regular basis. And that's how I ended up meeting you guys. And today, 10 years strong, I like to think that I'm a good Galatasaraylı and I follow just like you guys. And I'm super proud to be here today with you guys on Galatasaray Podcast. This is amazing. We were talking about it not that long ago. There's nothing on the web to talk about Galatasaray in English with friends. You go on YouTube and it's like, you see these reporters in Turkey on their YouTube channels, Aspor, TRT Spor. Half the time they don't even know what they're talking about, at least in my opinion. But with friends and Galatasaray Reddit, you get true opinions from true fans, and I'm enjoying it, and this is something that is like kind of like a new chapter in my life as a Galatasaraylı. So I'm really proud to be here today. You guys did an amazing job last week. I told my friends about it, and I can't wait to see where this goes. I think the sky's the limit.
It's as long as we have fun. That's the important part. And you just gave our whole backstory away now. The biggest mystery, episode 2, already unleashed. Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to share a personal story before we go into Gala news?
I don't have one personally, but didn't you have one last week? You closed it off. You said, you know what? I'll explain it next week.
yeah. Actually, that's true. Yeah, it was. I mean, I am not a terimci or what's it called? Anti-terimci. Sorry, I was just checking something. But what I had was I woke up and I had a dream, and the dream
Ooh.
was basically I woke up in a hotel room. So imagine you're waking up in a hotel room, and sometimes these hotel rooms have like big windows.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in front of that window with light shining upon him, I saw Fatih Terim. And don't get me wrong, I don't know why it was a hotel room, but it was definitely nothing sexual.
What a sight
Oh
that is.
boy.
I don't know about that, bro. I don't know about that.
No. And one thing is, when I looked on my left, Emre Taşdemir was there as well. I don't know why.
He does play left back.
And this was, yeah, because he's a left back.
He was in
Nice.
position.
Exactly. And the thing is, I walked over to Terim and I was crying. And this was when his news like was just out, And I was saying, "Seni çok özleyeceğiz." I was like, "Oh, we're gonna miss you a lot," and I was crying. And then suddenly, my grandpa came in, and he said, "Samet, Terim, babaannen dolma yapmış. Hadi gel yiyelim." And it basically means, Samet, Terim, your grandmother has made what's that called, dolma? The wine leaves, I guess.
Grape leaves.
Yeah, so it's a Turkish dish. But yeah, and then I said, okay, let's go. And then I woke up and I felt like a few tears. Yeah, if I may say
You
so.
must have been watching some Fatih Terim videos before bed or something to trigger that.
Or it's a sign
Probably.
for more to come,
I'm,
you know?
I'm excited about that dolma. Did the dolma taste good, bro?
Yeah, now I'm hungry, bro.
Yeah, that's where it ended, bro. I really, yeah.
Oh, that's a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Something you want to share? Hold on, Yasin, didn't you have a dream as well?
My dream was like just hype, bro. I was excited to get on today's podcast. I woke up in the middle of the night. I was in my dream. I was giving my introduction, all nervous, and then I had Salih like, "Oh, dude, your introduction was too long. We can't do 10 minutes of introduction just for Yasin." I woke up all sweaty, God, I messed up my podcast, went back to sleep, and then I'm going through my introduction again. Salih again, it's like, "Yasin, your introduction, you need to work on it." I'm like, shit, all right. Woke up, went back to sleep, and this time, I'm with all of you guys in the streets of where I live. We're walking around my neighborhood and just talking about Galatasaray, and it was like a live podcast. Like, Samet's recording, he's got the recorder, and we're just walking down the street on the sidewalks talking about Galatasaray. And then, yep, that's pretty much my dream. I guess it goes to show how excited I was to get on the podcast today with you boys.
Good thing Salih's not here today.
The good news as well is you're off to a good start.
Yeah, he did take a long ass introduction, but anyway.
I apologize.
Cancelled
Wake up-
already, just
Wake
like
up,
your dreams.
Wake up from my fourth dream.
Inception.
Yeah. All right. So one of the things I wanted to bring in terms of Gala news was Işıtan Gün. I think we've heard a lot about him. And there's been some controversial tweets that were dug up and basically shared to everyone. And I'd like to read a few of them and see what you think of this. It's very strange, to be honest. I mean, at that time, he probably was 30 or something like that. Still pretty on age there. So one of the tweets says, "Are women who work in the banks obliged to gossip for hours on the phone? And how do they manage to orgasm like this?" It's like some very weird tweet. And he continues saying, "As the process went on, the woman working at the bank seemed to be getting softer while I was getting harder." And he has many more tweets like that. I think I have like 10 of them. I'm not going to go through. Maybe one more. "Guardiola is finished. Guardiola has no courage. Guardiola doesn't know he doesn't know the F of football." Like statement like this. Well, I think Guardiola is fine, you can say whatever. But the ones against women, that's a bit, especially in these times, that's a bit harsh.
That's harsh,
And-
for sure.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask, because he basically made a statement on Twitter again that he apologized for it, that he regrets those things, etc. But other than that, he's still at the board, in the board. I mean, there are women working in the company, in Galatasaray.
Exactly.
And, like, in my opinion, they should fire someone like that. I think in history against racism, there were some things done. I think against, what's his name? Our Algerian boy. I think he got some racist points against him, and then that board member got fired. I'm not sure, but in my opinion, he should be fired. I don't see this as a very professional thing at all. I wanted to have your takes on that news as well.
It's
Yeah.
unprofessional and it's misogynistic, really, among many other things. What I wanted to say is, like, what sets Galatasaray apart from every other club is how much we pay attention to character, right? So when you first walk into Florida, like, what's the first thing you see? It's in blue and white. It's right on top of you.
Right.
It's what brought you here is your talent, and what's going to keep you here is your character. This is what we tell everyone. This is what we tell our senior team. This is what we tell our youngsters. And now you have someone like Işıtan Gün, who is just still working at the club after all these tweets. I don't know. Doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, and it's like it's also like, you know, that's not something that our club wants to be associated with, like someone with those values, right? I think now, especially because we do have a women's football team, that's, you know, you can't have someone in your club that has said those things. And to me, at least, it doesn't matter if it was 10 years ago, 12, 15, however long it was. I don't think that you want someone in your club that has those values or had those values, even if he has changed as a person. But like I said, especially now that we have a women's football team, I don't think there's any room for, you know, that sort of thing. So I think he should be let go, or he should resign. I don't think he would fit in with our club now. He kind of put himself in a tough situation, of course.
Apart from our women's football, there's also board members that are women too that really voice their concerns, saying that they want him gone as well. So it just goes to show you that something's wrong within our board, and we're hiring these kind of people that are going against our values. So I don't know what Burak Elmas's thoughts are on this. He hasn't really voiced his concern. All he asked was that the rumors are saying that he wanted him to resign, and even then he still says, I refuse to resign.
My thinking about this is, you know, he issued an apology 6 days ago, right, on January 15th. And part of that apology, he says, I know why these statements are being researched and uncovered today, but that doesn't excuse my doing so. I don't know, and I think it's extremely embarrassing for him to make a comment like that in an apology to these incredibly embarrassing tweets from back in 2010 and 2011. And to add on top of that, I think, you know, people make mistakes, right? Whether it's yesterday or 10 years ago. But I think what really diversifies a true leader from an average person, you know, a club, an institution that, you know, prides itself on what it stands for, how you respond to things, right? Burak Elmas said, you know, we will take what we need to do. We will take measures that we need to do. But it's been 6 days and we haven't heard anything. And there's rumors from a lot of credible resources saying that, you know, nothing is going to be done. You know, Işıtan is going to stay where he is. You know, why haven't we heard anything as a club in 6 days when all you see on Twitter, I mean, not that we should respond to Twitter fans, but when all you see from fans is istifa, istifa, istifa. Let me poke at your brains too. Don't you think, you know, letting go of this guy can kind of relieve that pressure a little bit? At least say, okay, Burak Elmas is our president. Who is he?
Who is he? Yeah.
You know, he's
Like,
part of
what
the.
does he do?
Işıtan Gün, as far as I understand, well, the Galatasaray board's very vague, but as far as I understand, he's kind of in charge of transfers. He's not like a sporting director or anything, because we don't really have one, but he's kind of like gets involved with transfers. Because as we know, as a report went on a couple of days ago, he was in PSV to negotiate, and one of their board members made fun of his tweets, so he left. Like, he just said, all right, I'm not doing this anymore, and he left the negotiations. So he's in charge of some sort of transfers. That's all we know.
Yeah, we don't know how credible that is. Yeah, that's what he executive board member, responsible for financial strategy or strategy in the long term. I understood. Yasin, you want to say something?
It was me. But
Yeah.
go ahead,
Oh.
Yasin. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Emre, go.
I was just going to say, before all of these tweets came out, he was going to be taking a more serious role within Galatasaray before this whole tweet thing situation happened.
Yeah. Did
And you know what?
bring...
Sorry. One more thing to add to that as well is that I would like think to yourself if you were in that position, if I did that, for example, and I, maybe I don't want to call it a mistake, but maybe I made a mistake and 10 years ago for whatever reason I was saying these things, right? If those things were uncovered and unpacked 10, 11, 12 years later, if you have any respect for the club and I think any respect for yourself, you would resign, right? Like no matter what he does now, if he stays in the club, he's not going to be seen for anything other than those comments he made, right? Like whenever his name comes up or whenever someone sees him, the first thing they're going to think of are those comments that he made, right? So I don't even know why you would want that to begin with. And like I said, if you had any respect for the club and respect for yourself, you would just resign from your position. But, I don't know what he's like personally. I don't know if he has changed as a person, if he has not changed, if he does have any respect for the club, if he doesn't really care. Right, so that's kind of hard to say, but just I would imagine if I was in that scenario and respecting the club and the other members of the board, I would resign myself. Right, I wouldn't want to be associated with that.
If you guys were the president, wouldn't you take fire him immediately instead of just asking for his resignation? Why isn't he doing that? Because think about it, that would relieve half the pressure that's already on Burak Elmas. So there's more behind the scenes that we don't know about.
Maybe he needs him. Maybe, a lot of people left already from the board. Maybe he needs Işıtan
more
and
going to
his
leave.
supporters.
The more he stays, the more that's going to leave. That's the problem, though.
Yeah. Well,
that's exactly right.
In my perspective, there's a lot to be said good. There's a lot to be said bad about the current board. But I think at the end of this summer, they're probably going to go for re-election. Maybe even April already.
I mean,
I don't think it's going to last until then.
What's so good about Işıtan Gün? Like, what's his credibility? Like, what has he done in the past? He's the owner of Fortuna Sittard, right?
Yeah.
That's all I know about him. And his team is in the relegation zone, fighting relegation zone right now. And he hasn't done anything to, mediate that.
Was Işıtan Gün the main catalyzer for Fatih Terim leaving?
Possibly. That's what I heard. That's what I read, at least.
So there's just so many reports going around right now. You don't know who to trust. A lot of conflicting reports.
Yeah.
Could be. Very well could be. And the thing with this Işıtan guy as well, as Samit, actually off stream here, mentioned that I can't even see a photo of this guy with Galatasaray jersey on. So like...
Emre called him out.
Is this guy?
Was
it Emre?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, he called him out. Nobody believed Emre. And then this controversy happened, and suddenly everyone is siding with Emre.
Look, who is this guy? Like, who is this guy?
So you're saying there's an imposter among us?
Well, he served with, Unal Aysal.
Anyone is an imposter.
Back in the day. And, yeah.
Go ahead, Emre.
So, yeah, I was just saying that Işıtan Gün actually served with Unal Aysal back in the day. And I don't know if Fatih Altay, a news reporter, mentioned that even back then he was known as a very, very strict anti-Terim person. Even back then. So it could be that he was the catalyzer for him leaving.
Yeah. Did he bring Luis Campo to Istanbul, Emre?
I haven't read that he personally bought him. It's more of, Burak Elmas between him and Luis Campo. That's the connection there.
Yasin, you wanted to say something?
I mean, I think you guys touched on a few good points and questions on whether, he has an issue with Terim or there's been problems between the two. Because I remember when Burak Elmas was first elected as president, there were a lot of rumors from good sources saying that Işıtan Gün was going to be like the sporting director. He's going to be the guy that's, handling the transfers and all that. And, it seemed done. It seemed that was his position. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, no. There were disagreements. Fatih Terim wants to handle all that with his team specifically. So I think their problems, at least from what I remember reading, goes back to when Işıtan Gün was first part of the board with Terim. Because we all know how Terim is, right? When he's here, he's Galatasaray. He handles everything. He sees it because he knows Galatasaray probably more than anybody else does currently alive, right? He's part of it from the youth system to the current squad, to the board, to how Galatasaray looks to foreigners outside of Turkey, European clubs, those relationships. Terim is Galatasaray, and I think there was a problem in the beginning where Işıtan Gün wanted to be the one that handles a lot of how the club handles transfers and the transfer policies and all that. But then out of nowhere, it said, okay, Terim is actually going to be the one that handles all that. And all of a sudden, it became a question to what this guy's actual position was, which is something that you guys just touched on as well. I have no idea either. The last time I remember reading anything that was somewhat legit to what his position was at the very beginning of Burak Elmas' stint. And that's when they said he was going to be a sporting director. Since then, silence, just like many other things with the sport, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, what is a sporting director in general? Like in Turkey, I don't think we had one, or at least that position wasn't really filled because, like you said, Terim was handling everything, and Burak Elmas was approving the transfers, and that's what we know, right? Yeah,
exactly
go ahead,
right.
Mas. Yeah.
So the sporting director essentially, you can imagine like in the hierarchy sits between the coach and the board, the chairman. So when you have someone like Fatih Terim, he's not going to answer to anyone, right? So that's a big issue that we had previously. So the coach essentially would be handling, I don't know, picking the team, training the team, etc. And the sporting director would kind of oversee the entire footballing side. So they'll be doing transfers as well, and all that kind of jazz. But the issue is, like I mentioned before, when you have Fatih Terim and a sporting director, it's just not going to work because when Fatih Terim is there, he's doing everything. He's picking the team, he's training the team, and he's also doing all the transfers. So now with Fatih Terim gone, we could maybe see a sporting director, but
and I think that might be that could be a benefit as well with bringing in foreign coaches and foreign, I guess, just figures in the organization, in the club, right? Like, in my opinion, at least, the Turkish mentality is not really that well suited for the football world. Especially like you just mentioned for Fatih Terim, that is probably one of the biggest personalities and biggest egos in the country when it comes to football, right? So just like you said, there's no way that was ever going to work with a proper sporting director or any type of director in the club where he would have to answer to or anything like that. That's just not going to work, right? So I don't know. Do you guys think could be a benefit of having a foreign coach, possibly foreign football director, and just foreign people in the club at the helm? Is that a benefit for us, or?
Yeah. Some things you don't know as well as other people, right? Like, go ahead, Mozart.
No, you go on. I spoke too much already. Go on.
Well, I like it when you talk. So anyway, like I said, I mean, Fatih Terim could handle everything, right? He can oversee everything, but is he the best at doing what he's like? The sporting director, is he going to be doing the best that he possibly could? Whereas I would prefer he just focus on coaching the team and let other people handle everything else, like transfers, overseeing the youth team, et cetera, et cetera.
I think the main benefit of having a sporting director is the sporting director is there to stay, have a long-term vision on the transfers and everything. So whoever comes in as the coach, or at least they will always hire a coach that fits in the long-term strategy of the club, and they can switch all the coaches they want. Their transfers will be solid and their strategy would be planned out. So you'll have a coach coming in and that won't change, and they will continue. What's happening now, especially with Galatasaray, that's Fatih Terim's team. We need a new coach with different players, complete rebuild, rinse and repeat. And I think that's the benefit of having a sporting director, is that you at least some aspect you stabilize them, unlike having a coach every year and having a different team every year. I think that's the main thing. Well, with that,
you're exactly right.
Yeah. So
I'm just thinking, right? In theory, it sounds great. I love the idea. I love the structure of it. I love how each person is responsible for something specific to their role, right? Like, it's not one person trying to control everything. I love it. But do we think in Turkey that's possible? I mean, why do I say that, right? you have these clubs, especially the big Istanbul clubs like Fenerbahçe, Galatasaray, Beşiktaş. We're constantly trying to win, right? And if you don't win 1-2 years in a row, you have a lot of pressure. When you get a lot of pressure, you change, right? You change, chaos erupts, especially at Galatasaray. We're known for chaos. So what happens when you get chaos? You hear it in the stands. Listen to the last game. What do you hear? You hear yönetim istifa, yönetim istifa. What happens after that? Your president potentially changes. Your coach potentially changes. And as we just saw in the middle of the season, not only did our coach change, our entire staff changed, right? From the bottom to the top. We did a cleansing. You might argue with me saying, okay, it's kind of a unique time because Fatih Terim and all of his guys left at once. Usually, all things equal, you're not going to have one guy like Fatih Terim and his entire team controlling the whole process. But if we look at our rivals, our Beşiktaş and Fenerbahçe, look at them when they go through change. How much, they also change a lot of people from the bottom to the top. So when you bring a guy like, let's say, Luis Campos, right? Big name, big vision. When you change the coach, if we change the coach 6 months from now, is that coach going to align with this guy's vision? Or are you going to?
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The sporting
Exactly right.
director hires then a similar coach with the same philosophy. And that's what Borussia Dortmund have been doing. They've been always getting the coaches that fits with their transfer policy and philosophy. So they don't have issues with that.
But then
But
that's
and
Turkey
also,
is a different animal. Go ahead. John.
Yeah, like and what Yasin just mentioned as well. That's a really vicious cycle. Like going because like you mentioned, the immediate results and immediate impact that the fans expect in Turkey, right? When they're not getting that and they start asking for the board to resign and coaches come in and out, presidents come in and out, it creates such a mess, and that's such a vicious cycle that I think teams can easily get trapped in, right? And I think Fenerbahçe have been, I guess, they've been caught in that a little bit, right? Especially with the coach situation, and they found it really difficult to settle in and create a project and stick with it, right? And I think that's probably one of the most difficult things about Turkey is the pressures that come with that we touched on last week as well, and the fact that you need to succeed right away, and if you don't, you're going to be in trouble with the fans, the media, and everything else that comes with that, right? So I think that's really, really difficult, a difficult thing about Turkey.
Yeah, we've seen that in the last game, right? With all the Terim masks that they had on. It's chaos, basically. Yeah.
Like John said, I touched on this last week. Bringing a new coach in at the middle of the season, it's kind of a tough thing to ask for a coach to turn everything around. That's why I usually prefer that they come, before the season even starts, because they usually have less pressure. They have more time to implement their strategies, ask for the transfers that they need, et cetera, et cetera. And then Torrent, lost 2 games back to back, unfortunately, has a lot to recover from, because now we're heading into a rough stretch.
Yeah. Well, one thing I'm happy about with the latest news is Albert Riera coming back. Well, maybe first thing to be said about this is, why did he ever leave? Like, there was no sound in Turkish media about him leaving. And suddenly, Terim's gone, Torrent's back, he's Spanish, Torrent's Spanish, and he's back.
It seemed
weird.
a little bit convenient. Yeah, I see what you're touching on there. Definitely does seem convenient. I wish we did know a little bit more, I guess, why he left to begin with, and if there was some controversy or some turmoil between him and maybe Fatih Terim, maybe someone else on the bench. I'm not really sure, but that is, I guess, clouded in some mystery that I don't know if we'll ever find out what really happened. I'm happy to see him back, regardless, but it is kind of, does seem a little bit convenient when Fatih Terim leaves, he comes right back a week later. I don't know. I'm not sure what happened there.
When he came, what was his real role in our club? And when did he exactly leave?
Assistant manager.
I think at the end of last season, right? He left, or beginning of this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He went to play football, some Legends Cup, and he never came back.
That's right. Oh, I think I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it just never came back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard rumors that it was because he didn't want to be assistant manager and do some coach work. But since he came back as an assistant manager, I guess that's not true. So, yeah, I guess we'll never know. Well,
And it's like, and one more thing about that as well. I was curious that, like, just thinking about it, I was wondering if maybe he left to begin with because he didn't agree with Fatih Terim, or they didn't really see eye to eye on some things. But I don't know, like, I wonder because he was so successful with our club. He was such an important figure in our main team when he was a player, right? So it's like, if I don't know if he didn't agree with Fatih Terim, maybe would we have seen that when he was actually a player, or is it just different now that he's actually a coach to like an assistant coach for Fatih Terim, where the disagreements happen? You know, it's interesting. Like, did they always not see eye to eye if that was the case, or was everything fine when he was a player, but maybe his perspective changed becoming an assistant coach? It's a really interesting thing. Like I said, I wish we knew a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think one thing that I give him big props for, and I think he had a big role in, is, well, he made Thailand. If I see all the videos and the talks he had when Thailand made that change to defensive midfield, which he was at his peak, by the way. So I hope with him returning, we'll see glimpses of that back as well.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, he gave Thailand a lot of attention when he was playing last year. And like you said, his performance did shoot up quite significantly.
I think Kerem too. At the end of the season.
Yeah. Did you have any other points or news? Well, I think I didn't ask the most important question. Did we bring Luis Campo to be our sporting director? Because I heard he left again.
Can I take over?
Yeah.
Okay, so firstly, he's gonna leave I think it's on the 24th, so after the Trabzon game or something. But I think that was planned from the start. I was gonna watch 2 games, see what it's like, and then leave. But according to reports, the position that he's wanted for is a consultant. He's gonna be a consultant for Elmas, not a sporting director. So Elmas wants him to kind of control the restructuring of the football department. Like, you know, they're trying to make the whole team younger and all that. He's going to help us with that. The reason why he will never be a sporting director, and I am saying never, is because he's not going to move to Turkey, firstly, and secondly, he wants way too much money. He was earning at his previous club 15 million euros a year. That's 3 Falcaos a year. We just can't afford that. If he does come, sorry.
What was his previous club?
I think it was Lille.
Lille,
yeah.
Okay.
So if he does come, it's going to be out of his goodwill, or because he gets along with Elmas, or he just loves Galatasaray. He won't come for the money. So, and as far as I know, we're not really close to coming to an agreement. But having said all that, this guy, like, if we had 15 million euros in the bank account, I'd give that all to Luis Campos. Why? Because this guy made 600 million euros in transfers while he was at Monaco and Lille, like, collectively. His nickname is the Wizard of Capital Gains.
Yeah, that's funny. I was just going to say that's magical. That is absolutely magical.
Yeah, that's bro. We haven't made a penny from our transfers in the past 5 years. This guy's made 600 million over 2 clubs. Also, he's got a
hard problem selling players for sure.
That's exactly right. And he's also got a great football background. He was a scout and a tactical analyst for Mourinho at Real Madrid. So he's not just some random guy off the street. He really knows his football. And while at Monaco, he's brought in some really big names. I'm just gonna speed run through a couple of them. Our very own El Tigre, Radamel Falcao. That was him. That was his transfer. Moutinho, James Rodriguez, Fabinho, Martial, Carvalho, Berbatov, Bernardo Silva, Bakayoko, Kondogbia, Thomas Lemar. I'm going to stop there because there's so many names. But this guy, I just wish Galatasaray can get a guy like this. I wish, because of these names he's transferred to Monaco and to Lille. Like,
Yeah, he's a master. He's a master for sure. Like you look at that resume and what he was able to do for those clubs, he's a master at what he does for sure. Like, obviously we can't afford something like that if that is what he wants, or if he did want money in that price range. Of course, we can't afford that. I think the only thing that our club can really offer him is a challenge, and if he's looking for that at this point in his career, then that's great. But definitely, yeah, just like you said, I think your words was that's 3 Falcaos, and I can't even comment on that.
I wonder what his thoughts were when he was watching our last home game. He might be thinking this is a sinking ship, by the time Trabzon game comes around. He might not even take our consult at all.
When he came to Lille, the first year they were almost relegating as well. So I don't know if that says something, but we are near that relegation zone as well. And
I'm glad you said that because when Lille was in relegation, he took over the sporting director, and then they came second. They came runners up in 2018 and 2019, and
next year
they went to win the next year. But that year he wasn't the sporting director because they changed owners. But you can kind of see I would kind of warrant that to him as well.
Yeah.
And he also helped Monaco champions. So this guy's just
he laid the foundation. I see.
Yeah. And Yasin, Luis Campo came with someone else, right? I think was it Mourinho's assistant? I don't know.
I mean, Samet, if you don't mind, I just wanted to make a quick point to add on to Mazar. Mazar listed some good names, right? But like John said, can we really afford these names? The 2 names that actually excite me most that's related to Luis Campos is Zeki Çelik and Burak Yilmaz. Both of these players were brought to Lille with Luis Campos as sporting director. Now, why does that excite me? Because, first of all, Zeki Çelik, he was bought for 2.75 million euros, right? And, today he's worth how much? 18 million, if you believe transfer market, of course. But he's a good player. He's Milli Takım's best right back, and he was rumored with Tottenham and many other clubs in Europe. What's interesting to me is that this guy knows that this guy, Zeki, exists in the first league. What's exciting to me is that Luis Campos was interested in Burak Yilmaz back when he was playing for Galatasaray. These names and these types of rumors and all that excites me because maybe Luis Campos knows, that there's other Turkish players in the first league that his team is eyeing that can help Galatasaray, right? That we can actually afford. Not these big names that, his other clubs paid 5, 10, 20 million for and sell for 50, 60. But if he can help us find these Zeki Çeliks for 1, 2 million, more Kerems and more, Barış if he turns out right, more of these players, then we can sell them for 10, 15, 20 million. That's huge for us. If he knows that Burak Yilmaz was good for Galatasaray and he brought him to later, maybe him and his team know that Kerem and Marcao and Nelson are good players and he can help market these guys to the bigger clubs in Europe. So that's what excites me about this guy more than anything else. It goes to show that in his history, he knows something about the Turkish league. His team follows the Turkish league, and that's immense for us because, us as fans, we can list these names, but we don't have a say in anything. And you see what our board brings. We bring these players who had one good stint in the Super League last season. They come to us and they shit the bed. I'm sorry, but they don't play good, right? Like, you question our strategy, but when you associate with these guys like Luis Campo, you get a little bit more belief, you get a little bit more optimism that they can actually see something in the Super League that we don't see. So I just want to list those 2 names in case, the guys didn't know. Zeki Çelik and Burak Yilmaz. He was super important in bringing both those guys to Lille, as far as I know. But you were asking about his assistant. I actually don't know anything about the guy. There was one video that I saw, he worked with Mourinho. He's like a side man, right-hand man, just like I believe Torrent was for Pep. But as for his background, I'm not sure too much.
Maybe some of the other guys know?
I have no clue, but I will say this is like the first time I'm excited about someone that Burak Elmas is bringing to the club to help us excel. So I hope he actually does help us. I don't know, Mazar's been on point with Luis Campo. Mazar, you know who's right-hand man?
Right-hand man, to be honest, not really, because I didn't get a chance to look into it, because after the match, the morale was just...
Okay, this is your last episode, Maz.
Yeah.
You didn't do your research.
Yeah.
No
I'm
research.
I'm doing NBA streams from now on.
Oh God. But I think we talked a lot and perhaps enough about the latest news, unless we're forgetting anything. But we'll always have more time on Sunday, I guess. Maybe we can move on to discussing. Oh, wait, I have to put my happy voice on because last time I was sounding like dead and depressed when I announced our match day performance against Hatayspor, was it? Yeah. So, yeah, we played against Kasımpaşa. Donks was our old player. He's at Kasımpaşa now. And what the hell did we play? Like, I have no clue what happened. So I'm guessing I'm going to let a real coach take this introduction. John, maybe you want to start off with saying a few things, how we started, what happened.
For sure.
And, what you thought of our performance on top of last week's game.
Definitely, yeah. So thank you for that, by the way. Honestly, there's a lot to go into about this match, mostly negative, unfortunately. But even before we dive into the our actual performance, I think it's worth noting as well that we had, I guess, due to suspensions, we had to start with a bit of a makeshift midfield, right? Which was Van Aanholt playing beside Alpaslan. So that was that didn't quite go to plan, I guess, like how maybe Dominic Thorne thought it would. But we started the match in a 4-2-3-1, and the two right in front of our back line was Alpaslan and Van Aanholt. And those two players, especially Alpaslan, I think that was a really poor, I don't want to say, it was a poor choice, but I know it's difficult as a new coach trying to put the pieces together, especially when you have some players on other assignments, suspensions, injuries, whatever it is, right? But if I could just dive into those two for a minute, I thought Alpaslan was absolutely horrible in that position.
Before you go along, Berkan and Taylan were both suspended,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, that's right. So I guess that's where we had to get a bit creative. But even though we did have players like iTouch on the bench who probably could have played in that position, we went with Alpaslan and Van Aanholt. Like I was saying, I thought Alpaslan was really, really bad in that position. He was, from just my observation, he was never in the right position. He's not mobile enough to play there as well, right? Like players in that position, you need to always be moving into space and putting yourself in an area where you can receive the ball, right? I don't feel like he was ever doing that. He was a little bit clumsy. And Van Aanholt, I thought, actually was kind of the opposite. Although I didn't think he played very well in that position, I could see that he was trying and looking to get himself into space to receive the ball. But I felt that for that position, he was playing with a little bit too much finesse and not enough grit, if that makes sense. That's a bit more of a gritty position. So that didn't work out too well, unfortunately. And aside from that, maybe I can just get into a little bit of what I thought about the first half. Maybe we can talk about the first half first. But, I think a lot of people might disagree with me, which is fine. But the way that we started this first half was a little bit of a slower tempo, very patient in build-up play, enjoying the ball, which I personally like that. I like slower build-up. I like slower play. I know a lot of other people like a bit more of attacking, I guess. I don't want to say attractive. That's a bit of a subjective thing or objective, but yeah, I thought we were a lot more patient in build-up. We weren't forcing the ball, and I like that. I like enjoying the ball at home. I like making the other team chase after the ball, and teams get tired when they do that. When a team is chasing the ball for like 60 out of the 90 minutes, they get tired, and that's when you can break down teams and play through their back line and really open them up, right? Again, I think some people might disagree with that, which is fine. I don't really mind passing side to side and back if it means we have possession of the ball and we're looking to open them up. I don't mind that.
You like Terim play?
Yeah, I don't know if that's Terim play. I'm not sure. Like, with Fatih Terim, I found a lot of times during the match we were forcing the ball for no reason and trying to jam the ball down the other team's throat when we didn't have to do that. Like, we're playing a team that's in relegation, right? I know we're not too far from relegation, but of course we're the biggest team in this league, right? I don't think that we should be trying to force the ball or jam the ball down the other team's throat. I want to set up in their half, and I want to enjoy the ball. We're at home, right?
We failed at all what you mentioned this game.
Yeah, definitely. So, the point I was going to make was, before I pass it off to someone else, in the first half, at the beginning of the first half, we were doing that, and I liked seeing that. I like the patient play. I like seeing the team hang on to the ball, enjoy the ball, and not kick it away. I loved seeing that. Unfortunately, in the second half, that all went out the window, and we were really disorganized, and like I mentioned, trying to jam the ball down Kasımpaşa's throat, right? Which absolutely did not work. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Just first half thoughts. What do you guys think?
Let's have Yasin start from there.
I think John made some good points, and I agree with you, John, when you say, having the ball is important, passing the ball is important. And why do I say that? This team, after the game, Torrance said it, but it's something we've been seeing. He said, this team, when we let up a goal, we fall easily. This team is missing confidence. This team lacks that energy because the fans are not there. They just lost their coach. We've been losing for how many games straight, right? Confidence and that özgüven, in Turkish we call it, it's super important when you're playing, right? It allows you to make that pass better. It allows you to shoot when you maybe would be worried otherwise. Torrent realizes that this team is lacking that confidence, so I think that's why he wanted to play that style in the first half. Let's not let up a goal in the first half, because if we let up a goal in the first half, who knows what could come after that, especially when the team is so weak mentally at the moment. So I agree with that approach. And I think that's what ties to the whole Alpaslan and Van Aanholt situation too. I mean, obviously we're missing Taylan and Berkan, our two best center defensive midfielders, if you want to call it that, this whole season. Berkan being a workhorse. He does all the work in the midfield that, makes it easier for players like Çikaldao to play in the midfield. So we're missing these guys. When you play Alpaslan and you play Van Aanholt, who are obviously defensive players, one is a CDM turned into center back and the other one is a left back, it kind of gives you a little bit of confidence, at least in theory, right? That we're going to have the ball a little bit more comfortably and we're going to give up less positions. However, I think, we didn't see it in the first half, right? We finished 1-0 in the first half, so we didn't let up a goal. But correct me if I'm wrong, we let up a lot of good chances to Kasımpaşa that they couldn't finish. That was very worrying. I mean, we got away with it in the first half, but obviously saw it in the second. They scored 3 goals. So we need to really work on that defensive approach to it. And I had a lot of friends and, people saying, why are you playing with 6 defenders, right? Like, how many defensive players do you need? But clearly, even when you're playing with 2 defensive players in the midfield, you're still letting up goals. So I think approaching it with that passing mentality, holding the ball, is kind of the safe way to go about it. But I don't know how soon we're going to be able to fix the problem of, giving up these easy chances. I don't know what you guys think on that one. We're giving up too many chances too easily in the last 2 games.
Well, yeah, I agree. We're giving up more chances to teams than we have previously. And just to touch on your previous statement, we actually tied going into the first half with Kasımpaşa.
Oh, was it
so
tie
I think
at
that
the end of the first half?
It was a tie. Yeah, it was Ryan Donk, 45th minute.
Right before, yep.
In extended time.
Ironic.
Yeah, our former player scoring on us. Name a better duo. Like you said, I don't know. Well, how is it that we're playing more defensively this game, but we're letting up more chances? Apparently this was an issue with Torrent's playstyle previously at his former club.
I don't
know.
No, maybe Maz, if you want to say anything.
Maz?
Look, I might be over my pay grade here. I don't want to say anything about Torrent's tactics after 1 week, but I played a bit of football younger. When you let the team come onto you like that, they're gonna shoot. They're gonna have a couple of opportunities to shoot, yeah. And when you have someone like Ismail Çipe, look, I'm not gonna throw him under the bus. I can't fault Ismail Çipe at all, because he's like, how's it his fault, bro? Like he's normally a third keeper, right? There's Muslera and Okan before him. Okan should never have left the club, never. But it happened, and now he's in goals. I can't fault him, even though
because of Yasin's hemşire. Anyway. It's because of Yasin's hemşire. Yeah.
Exactly. But I don't think we should. I think we should be a bit more aggressive a bit more attacking, as they would say, and not let them come into our half as much. Because when they come into our half, we fall asleep. Like as we saw from Donk's goal, Haile should have been marking Donk. No one. Donk was just in the box free. He got the ball,
running away
bang,
from
he shot it. Exactly. He's not marking him. I think he assumed that we were gonna go on the counter, but you can't assume when you're playing defense. You can't assume. You got to be there. Because it's a split second mistake, you cop the goal. And went down after that anyway.
Halil is not Galatasaray's player, in my opinion. But what I noticed, my personal observations. Last game, we made 2 clear wins. That was Sashik Bowe coming back and Emre Kılınç finally being played at his position. And I think he did a good job. And this game, did we see either of them start? I don't think so, right? So both our left lane that, was working well last time wasn't there. I mean, I don't want to judge Torrent yet. He's obviously new. We should see this as a complete restart. He's still figuring things out. He's still figuring the players out. But at least someone could have told him what everyone else knows, like Bowe and Kılınç worked last game. They should be playing again. I mean, does he think Yedlin is better? Do you guys think Yedlin is better than Sasha Boye?
No,
Why
I
did
do
we
not.
get Yedlin? That's the better question. Why did we get him?
Why did he play? Let alone get him.
Why? Just why?
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, we could ask, why is Ismail Cipe playing instead of Fatih Öztürk? Is Fatih worse than Ismail Cipe at his current state?
Because Yasin's dayı is from Giresun and is connected with Burak Elmas, so they sent him to Giresun, right?
I'm glad you said that, because one of my dear friends, Eren, just messaged saying we have come to an agreement with Giresunspor to bring back Okan, but if anything does happen, like if last minute we can't sign the deal, can't seal the deal, we're gonna get Sinan Bolat from Gents. So let's hope that this report is true, because it's from a decently credible source. I wouldn't say S tier, but it's like a tier 2 or a high tier 2. So let's see how that happens. Hopefully he'll be coming for the Trabzon game. Thank you, Eren, for that.
Okay.
Well, yeah, and one more thing as well. I think that obviously there's a new playing style and players are being given new instructions for these matches, right? And I think it's already hard enough to adjust to that, especially mid-season, like just in the middle of the season, changing tactically and changing your play style and changing these little things, right? I think in this match in particular, it also didn't help that we had that makeshift midfield. I think that caused a lot of problems for us defensively. In my opinion, I'm not a fan of Alpaslan. He barely even knows how to play his usual position in center back. In my opinion,
correction. He actually played defensive midfield for Elazığspor in 2017 and 18, and he actually scored 7 goals in that season and made 1 assist. So that was interesting. I didn't know that. I looked it up afterwards, but maybe that's why they preferred him to play at defensive midfield.
Yeah, possibly. I didn't know he had that experience, and that's even worse, to be honest. If he's played there before, I thought he was really bad in that position, and it creates too many gaps for us. Like, the midfield is not a place where you can have things like this. Like, it causes way too many issues for you defensively, tactically, keeping possession of the ball. So I'm hoping we do see a difference when we have our usual midfielders, Taylan, Berkan playing again. But it's a really difficult time, man. Like, changing tactically, like I said, mid-season, and having players that are on different assignments and this and that, it's difficult. So like the rest of you said, I don't want to judge yet. I do want to have some patience and see how this develops and things like that. But man, it was a frustrating
It's
it was
the
a
little
frustrating
things
match.
you want to see change quickly, right? Because we all know Ömer Bayram is not made to play for this team, and I was wondering why he decided to put Van Aanholt in midfield when he could have put like Aytaç or even Bartu. It's like these little things I would like to ask him or wonder, or like why, like Samet said, why is he playing Yedlin, who is known to let up so many positions opposed to Sasha?
You make a good point on the midfield. It's actually what I wanted to say is, we have someone that has proven himself on the midfield, and we have someone that has proven himself that he's bad on left back position. So
Exactly.
why are you putting Patrick van Aanholt on midfield position while we have someone that made 10 assists a few seasons back? Yeah, I know I'm going to get hate for this, but Ömer Bayram on center mid position actually, well, he's proven he did well, and
Performs
I
better.
believe he's good. Yeah, well, at least way better than left back for sure. So, like, how did that come about? And let me remind you, Ömer Bayram got preferred over Nzonzi, Lemine, and Seri when he was playing center mid. So, I think that was,
I remember that season.
yeah, that was odd. Yeah,
What a
Ömer-
confusing time.
Ömer De Bruyne.
Yeah.
against
Emerenio.
Yeah. So I'm not blaming Torrent, but I mean, we've been complaining with Terim about these type of things, and we have Torrent, and I'm just unhappy that, well, he's not doing those things that we were complaining about.
Summit, I think, you guys, Emre too, you ask very valid questions, and I was, talking to myself too. Why are we playing Van Gaal in the midfield when we've never seen it before? These are valid questions, and as fans, it's our responsibility to ask these questions and take note of it and talk about it. But
Torrent'in bir bildiği var.
when is it, to me, justifiable to start really getting upset and angry towards Torrent and his team? It's when we start to see the same mistakes game after game, or repeatedly, I should say. This is his second game. This is the first time that we see him play the way that we did. And, he has valid excuses because of missing players, right? But we haven't seen, in my opinion, we haven't had time to see, but we haven't seen him make very obvious mistakes repeatedly, right? It's his second game. It's his first week here. So I think as fans, we need to be patient. We need to discuss these problems and ask these questions. But when you have two of your midfielders missing and the team is in this form, right, if you want to call it a form, losing and tying how many games, winning how many games in the last 10, 11, when we're in this form, you have to kind of give patience to it. And, I'm hopeful for the next game because we're getting two important players back. I think I read today Thailand is coming back, right? He had a 2-match suspension and they dropped it to 1 so he can play versus Trabzon. I think Berkan's coming back too. These are huge additions, and fortunately, I think we won't be seeing either Alparslan or Van Holt in the midfield again. So, how do you guys feel about the next game? With these players coming back versus first place, pretty much, or maybe already champion Trabzon. How do you guys think about that?
Well, I'd like to, something I reminded myself of while you were speaking is I'd like to apologize to all of you. I believe it's my fault we've been losing the past, I think, 10 games. Well, let's say 9 out of the 10 games because I was streaming for me and some friends the past 10 games. And one of them I didn't stream. A friend streamed, and we won that one. And I don't know. I continue streaming, so I apologize for that. I think Trabzon game I'll probably stop streaming. But yeah, so in terms of predictions for the Trabzon game, I don't know. Let me have a quick think while maybe Emre gives his prediction.
Well, Trabzon, I don't know if I'm very hopeful. They're in extremely good form right now. They've scored more than they conceded. Way more than they scored 39 goals and conceded only 16. So not only is their scoring presence very effective, their defensive presence is the best. They're tied, I think, with Konyaspor for the least amount of goals conceded. So
That's as many as us, yeah.
And whereas we look at our defensive and scoring, we scored 27 and let in 31 goals, almost twice. We conceded almost twice what they conceded. So it's going to be a very difficult task for Torrent to work around their offense and their defense. So I'd like to see more attacking presence in the front to disrupt Trabzon. I don't know what John may think about it.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. It's a real test, and unfortunately, we're not really in a position to be, going up against a test like this. I think, but I'm going to give a prediction in a second. But one more thing I wanted to say as well is that I think with Dominic Torrent, he doesn't have a play style that is suited, to join a team that's struggling and turn it around within 1, 2, 3 games, right? I think it's more of a long game with him and getting a team to understand and implement a different style. So I'm not sure what's going to happen in the coming weeks. Like I said, I think it's going to take a while for the team to adapt to that, and we don't really have much time creeping closer to relegation. But Trabzon are fantastic this year. It's a really, really difficult game. I'm going to give a bold prediction, and I'm going to say it will be a 1-1 draw.
Classic Trabzon Gala results.
Yeah, I agree. I also think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. But I don't think there's a chance we win that because Trabzon, I don't think anyone mentioned this, so I'm going to say it. Out of their last 28 games away, they're undefeated in 27 of them. So they're incredible away, and we're just in shambles right now. But
Just to add to that,
have said as well. Yeah,
they have one loss this whole season. Just one loss. They scored the most goals of any team this season. So hopefully our defensive structure is up to task because I'm, the Trabzon Fırtına, as they say, I'm scared of it. I'm really concerned because, like John mentioned, this team needs more time. Torrent needs more time to, implement his system. And I don't even know if he has the correct players. This is not his team. So I hope he can work around what this team has to offer to get some kind of result from Trabzon because we're creeping closer to the relegation zone. And that really does have me concerned.
So what's your score prediction, Emre?
I think the optimist in me said we'd win against Kasımpaşa, but the pessimist in me is speaking out loud and clear. I feel like we're going to lose this because if they win this is a big
I need a score
W for them.
Next podcast.
I think we're going to lose 2-1 at home.
Okay. So John is saying 1-1. You're saying 2-1, Emre. What's your score prediction, Mas?
My ones. I also said 1-1 because they have
1-1.
a few people out. They have like 5 or 6 people out.
Okay. And Yasin?
I think they'll be playing Kolbasta in the middle of the field at minute 90 while the fans are screaming Istifa again. I think we're gonna lose. I think we're gonna lose 2-0. They have a very, very good, experienced team. They know each other. They know how to play. They have the confidence. And how exciting would it be to continue your good streak against Galatasaray, who is close to relegation? Trabzon love to play good against us, especially in Istanbul. I think the last few years it's always been like that, and I'm scared to say it. I like to be optimistic. You guys know me. I usually say something like 2-goal margin wins, but today, thinking about Sunday, I don't feel so good looking at the last 2 games, so I'm going to say 2-0 loss.
Yeah, for me, my optimism died when Fatih Terim left. Not because I think he was doing a great job, don't misunderstand me, but I think he was the best at this time, at this moment, that anyone could do. And I'm not saying Torrent is bad or anything, but from what I've heard, and I said before, I give him time all the time. Well, 1.5 years is what I would give him. But I think based off what I've read and heard about Torrent, I think he will continue his Derby or El Clasico games, losses that he had in Flamengo, and very pessimistic 4-1, 5-1 is my prediction. This is very pessimistic. Jesus, what happened to us?
The sad thing about that is that could very well happen. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised if that happened.
I heard that right? You said 5-1?
4-1,
I think
5-1.
4-1. I'll keep it on 4-1.
This is on record now, bro. This is on record now.
Yeah,
3
dude.
years time, I'm gonna come back and say, remember those days?
Well, there's one option. I could save the game. If I don't stream, we'll probably win. And I think if I don't stream, I say 2-1. optimistic. But if I stream, I'll say 4-1.
Well, that's the ultimate test, right? If you somehow don't stream and we beat pretty much a team that's, I'm just going to say undefeated, even though they only have one loss, pretty much undefeated. That pretty much proves right there, you know.
Okay, then you got to get some of the other guys to stream it.
All right.
Did you guys have anything else to say about upcoming game against Trabzon? Did they miss anyone, by the way?
Is Trabzon missing anyone?
I don't know. Who's their important
Is that what you
player?
asked?
Yeah.
They have a lot of important
Bakasetas
players.
Bakasetas is, I'd say, their most important player probably.
He came from
Cornelius has a
Başakşehir.
lot of goals.
Mhm.
Cornelius has a lot of goals. I don't know. Their whole team is good. That's the thing. Like it's hard to say one player is good because they play very collectively from what I've seen. And yeah.
And what do you think? Like, who will we start? Do you think anything about that? Well, definitely Berkan, Taylan, and Çıkıldağ, right?
Yeah, I don't think there would be. I'm not expecting any surprises or anything. I think it will be a pretty expected lineup. I would hope if maybe there will be some surprises, but I think it would be what we're more used to seeing.
Do you think we'll see Yedlin over Boe?
I hope not.
I don't think.
I don't think so.
Also,
I hope not. Yeah.
I just hope we seal the Okan deal and he starts and goes.
I'm just having nightmares thinking about Yedlin dealing with NYKM. I just can't.
Oof.
Oof. No, don't. Let's not talk about that right now.
Do you think we'll play
Yeah.
Morutan?
I'm sorry, Yasin?
Ooh.
Do you think we'll play Morutan again? So Morutan played last game, came off as a sub for Emre Kılınç, who was the starter versus Hatay. So I think that's a question mark.
I think the right choice for me would be Emre Kılınç.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, actually. I don't think Morutan is going to start. I don't think he was... I mean, he did get the assist last game, but it wasn't... it wasn't really anything to write home about. But I don't think he's been that good. And I think he's really one of our weakest players physically. I don't know. I don't think he'll start against Trabzon. I'm with you on that. But who knows, man?
Is
Who knows
Emre
what to
Kılıç
expect?
any stronger, though? That's the question.
Yeah, probably not.
Physically wise.
There's one name that we're not talking about. Fagul coming back from AFCON.
Really?
Yeah, they got eliminated. Algeria got eliminated, I'm pretty sure. So, do you guys think we'll see Faguli back so soon, or do
No,
you think
not
maybe
that-
next
I
game?
don't think so because Feguli is not the greatest player when it comes to Trabzon games. I think he had 2 red cards in 2 different games when he played with Trabzon. So that's a big asterisk, if you ask me.
Is it Ramadan already? If it is, then we should play Feguli.
There's 2 more months, bro, for that.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, shit.
One more question. Emre Bayram or Van Aanholt at left back?
Van Aanholt.
Van Aanholt.
Van Aanholt,
Van
yeah.
Aanholt, 100%. Just don't ask me that question ever again.
Yeah, please.
hey, we've seen it. We've seen it, brother.
Yeah.
And we didn't
I
like
don't
it.
want to see it.
Well, I'm just happy to have Berkan back because when Berkan's not here, that midfield is bland. And I feel like Jal Dow has like almost 0 options when it comes to midfield. And we saw that last game, like second half, we got trampled on in midfield. So it's going to be nice to see him back. Thailand as well. But I think Berkan is really the missing piece for this team, at least currently.
Let's hope you're right, bro. Let's hope you're right.
All right. I think we've said a lot. Time flies by. Is there any important last things you want to discuss before I sum it up?
No.
No.
Good.
Trust the process. Trust the
Yeah.
process is all I'm saying.
I mean, it's a learning process. It's news for us as well. I definitely enjoy doing this with all of you, so that's good. Let's sum it up. I think we discussed a lot of things. We spoke about Işıtan Gün's controversial tweets. We spoke about the board, the direction of the board, where they'll go. Luis Campo visiting us. What's his job? What kind of things he does? We also discussed Albert Riera a bit, and then we moved on further to the Kasımpaşa game, which we discussed all together. And just now we gave our match predictions for next game. So we will see who was right, and I will try not to stream, so I could be optimistic. And if anyone listening has any questions or would like to raise any topics, feel free to tweet to us at the Lions GS, or you can find us on Instagram as well. And I'd like to thank you all for listening. So say goodbye, guys.
Take care,
See you,
everybody.
boys
Goodbye.
Talk to you guys on the next one.
and gals.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye for now, not forever.